Hey guys, so you probably heard Muppet Vision 3D has officially closed at Walt Disney World and officially marking it as a defunct attraction. But as a wise man once said, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. So in that spirit, I wanted to honor its legacy by diving into the history of Jim Henson and the Muppets. So without further ado, it's time to play the music. It's time to light the lights, and it's time to get things started on the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, Muppetational. This is what we call Muppetational history.
It's time to get things started on the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, Muppetational. This is what we call the Muppet Show.
Jim Henson was born on September 24th, 1936 in Greenville, Mississippi. Like a lot of people, he was shaped by the biggest technological triumph of his generation. For kids today, that's the internet. For kids in Jim's day, though, it was television.
Here we are, back with you again. Yes, by gum.
And yes, by golly,
Cuckoo friend.
Dear old Ollie.
Here we are again. Here we are again. Here we are again.
Here we are again.
Here we are again. Here we are again.
Oh, boy, I'm telling you, so many important things have happened while I was on my vacation. I was off a week, you know. In New York, the newspapers went on strike, and I think that's terrible to be without newspapers. How are you going to wrap fish? Anyway, for the benefit of those New Yorkers who don't know what's going on because the newspapers are on strike, here is the latest headlines. The newspapers are on strike.
11,848, 11,849, 11,850, 11,851, 11,852.
He once said getting his family's first TV set was the biggest event of his adolescence. It was that moment that lit the spark. Through TV, Jim was exposed to a wide range of shows, ideas, and talents. But it wasn't puppetry that first caught his eye. At first, Jim wanted to be a writer or a comedian. But that all changed when local station WTOP-TV put out a call for puppeteers for a new children's show. Jim saw an opportunity to get into TV, so he did what any ambitious teen would do. He went to the library, picked up a book on puppet making, and built his own puppet. He auditioned, and he landed the gig! Dream come true, right? Well, kind of. That show lasted 3 weeks before being shut down due to new rules about hiring minors. But even in those 3 weeks, Jim had made an impression. The studio took notice, and pretty soon, he was invited to showcase his puppets in a Saturday show segment where this lip-synced to popular songs. That show also got canceled. But hey, third time's the charm, right? That's when another station, WRC-TV, offered Jim a 3 to 5 minute nightly segment before the evening news. That segment eventually evolved into Sam and Friends, a show that ran from 1954 to 1961 and really put Jim on the map.
Bay there lives a whale. She eats pork chops by the bale, by the hogshead, by the schooner, sometimes by the pillbox. Her name is Luna. She's a peach, but don't leave food within her reach, or babies, or nursemaids, or chocolate ice cream sodas. When she's happy, how she smiles. You see teeth for miles and miles, and tonsils, and spare ribs, and things too fierce to mention. When she's happy, how she plays. She rolls her eyes for days and days and vibrates and yodels and breaks the 10 Commandments. What do you do in a case like that? What do you do but jump on your hat and your grandmother and your toothbrush and anything that's helpless?
With a regular show on the air, Jim's ideas started getting bigger, more ambitious. He couldn't do it alone anymore. He needed help, and he knew exactly where to find it. Around this time, Jim had enrolled in the University of Maryland. Initially, he chose a studio arts major thinking it would help with his TV aspirations, but the workload was too intense to juggle alongside his studio job. So he switched to home economics. Same creative skills, fewer hours. It turns out that was a great move. One of the courses in that department was, ironically enough, a puppetry class. Now here's the twist. The professor had no puppetry experience. Meanwhile, Jim was already working professionally as a puppeteer. Still, it wasn't a waste. That class introduced Jim to someone who would become one of his most important people in his entire life, Jane Neville. Jane was a senior when Jim, a quiet but clearly talented freshman, showed up in her class. She immediately saw his potential, and Jim saw hers too. Before long, he asked Jane to join him on the Salmon Friends show, and that professional relationship quickly blossomed into something personal. And in 1959, the two were married. Salmon Friends became Jim's main focus, but he was also getting more and more attention for his commercials and talk show appearances. The show followed the character Sam as he was pestered by off-the-wall characters he had imagined. It was a wild mix of comedy sketches, puppet lip-syncing, and chaotic shenanigans that didn't always make sense, but were always entertaining. The zaniness made advertisers a little nervous at first, but one company, Wilkins Coffee, took a chance. They asked Jim to make a series of short, punchy commercials. And what came next, honestly? Absolute genius.
Put your money in here and you get a cup of Wilkins coffee.
I don't want any.
Then push that button. How about a cup of Wilkins? With this camera, I shoot pictures of people who don't drink Wilkins coffee.
I'm ready. Shoot.
Anybody else? You'll like this new car.
Yeah?
It's got a built-in maker for Wilkins instant coffee.
Who needs it?
Well, you can't sell them all. Got your parachute?
I forgot it.
How about the Wilkins coffee?
I forgot that too.
You'll never forget this.
Any last requests, like for a cup of Wilkins coffee?
No.
You don't drink Wilkins?
No.
How shocking. Want a cup of Wilkins coffee?
What'll Mr. Wilkins do if I don't?
Oh, he'll probably put his foot down.
The ads were fast, funny, and a little violent. In just 8 seconds, you'd see one puppet destroy another over a cup of coffee. Chaotic, ridiculous, and massively successful. Soon, companies were lining up to get their own Muppet ads.
Introducing Munchos from Frito-Lay. It's the all-new potato snack. Not a potato chip, a potato crisp.
Munchos?
You see, there's more to a Muncho. They're thicker than potato chips, so they're crisper with more potato flavor.
Munchos!
I wish you'd try to control yourself.
Munchos!
Well, as I said, there's more to a Muncho. Introducing Munchos.
Munchos!
The all-new potato snack from Frito-Lay.
Like Munchos.
It's not a potato chip, it's a potato crisp.
Love Munchos!
It's thicker than a potato chip, thus it's crisper with more potato flavor.
Found Munchos!
Try them. You'll discover there's more to a Muncho.
Do you eat McGarry's sausages for breakfast?
You should. They start your day with a bang!
What are you eating?
Savory, succulent McGarry's sausages. Want a bite?
Yeah. Ah, he's a sharp salesman.
People who don't eat McGarry's sausages just blow up sometimes.
Oh, that's a lot of...
See what I mean?
It was great for paying the bills, but Jim was still hungry for something deeper. He wanted to create, he wanted to learn. And that's where the Jimmy Dean Show comes in. Now I know what you're thinking. Isn't that the breakfast sausage guy? Well, yes. But before he became the face of frozen biscuits, Jimmy Dean was actually an accomplished actor and singer. He also hosted a variety show filled with singing, dancing, and vaudeville-style comedy, including puppets. This was a game changer for Jim. Working on the Jimmy Dean Show, Jim got to collaborate with writers, hone his comedic timing, and most importantly, develop one of the most beloved Muppets of all time, Rolf the Dog. Rolf became a fan favorite, and Jim was invited back again and again to write and perform.
Hey, my sneeze is gone.
See?
Now I got a cough.
Wait. I'm your man.
Oh, I'm not finished.
Well, look. Wait. Come here. Look. I'm going to help you. Wait. Open wide. Open wide. Let's see. There. Now.
Hey, what happened to the popsicle?
Now, open wide. Ha.
Hey, Doc, there's a hole in your headlight.
Now get out of here. Come here. Open up. Now.
These appearances helped sharpen his skills and expand what he thought puppetry could be. But even with that success, Jim wasn't fully sold on puppetry as a lifelong career. It had started as a means to get into television now, but he was already in it. Should he pivot? To clear his head, Jim traveled to Europe in the summer of 1958, originally to study painting. But while there, something surprising happened. He discovered that puppetry in Europe was seen as a serious art form, on the same level as painting or sculpture. That trip changed everything. When Jim returned to the States, he and Jane made their creative partnership official. In November of 1958, they founded Muppets Inc., and that few months later in 1959, they had tied the knot. Now it was all or nothing. If puppetry was going to be his path, Jim was going to reinvent the whole thing, make it smarter, weirder, and more emotionally resonant. But he was also busy. He still had commercials, appearances, and shaman friends. Though that show, after dodging cancellation a few times, finally ended in 1961. It was bittersweet, but also freeing. Jim still had his side gigs like guest spots on The Ed Sullivan Show, but now he had room to dream bigger, and dream he did. Because Jim Henson was about to take everything he'd learned from sock puppets to satire and bring it to a whole new kind of stage. Or should I say, street. So I hope you guys enjoyed learning about that early bit of Muppet history. Of course, we will continue with part 2, but make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so that you can be available to see that. Thank you so much for watching, y'all. I'll see you guys next time.